Welcome, guys, to podcast number 50 of Our Ketogenic Life.
Welcome. Almost a year of
Yes.
podcast.
2 more weeks. I didn't realize that.
I know.
What is this? So we started mid-October last year.
I don't remember,
I don't
but
either. I thought it was in November. But anyway, we are talking about carb creep today.
yes, carb, C-A-R-B, creep.
Yes.
And how to avoid it.
And give you some signs as far as what it is. And one of the reasons we came across this topic is because one of our members had a problem. They were having a problem of gaining a little bit of weight back than what they had done.
It happens.
It does.
I mean, I wouldn't say it happens to everyone, but it probably happens to everyone.
I think it does. I think it goes through, everybody goes through this cycle. It's kind of like with the whole process of starting a ketogenic diet, is we see most people go through the same things.
Yeah.
And it may be different timing.
Yeah.
You know, this carb creep may affect somebody at 3 months, or it may be 2 years from now.
Right.
But it seems like someone always goes through this because we're creatures of habit.
Right.
And we want to go back to what we were doing before.
Yeah. You want to go back to something that's comfortable,
Right.
something that's easy. Different things in your lives come up, whether it's stress, whether it is even during happy times, you're feeling great. So you think, oh, you know,
It's a mindset.
that little bit of mashed potato doesn't hurt me. It didn't hurt me 2 months ago when I had some.
Right.
So, and then little by little,
It comes.
it creeps
you know.
back in, and we're not realizing it.
And we call it creeping because it's not like 1 week you're totally doing ketogenic 100%, then the next week you're way off.
Or at least that's most people. I mean,
Yes.
I guess that some people
can.
who never really gave ketogenic
Right.
they've never really done ketogenic an honest way.
Right.
Like they may say they're doing ketogenic, but when you're still eating, 50, 100 carbs every single day or every other day,
Right.
that's not ketogenic.
Right.
Or if you go off every weekend, that's hard to do.
So this creeping that we're going to talk about, you may be doing 20 carbs all along, and then you go up to 30, then you're back to 20, then you go up to 40, then you go back to 30, and it just kind of creeps back into your life.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about, some of the things, why it happens, and then what to do about it when it does start happening.
Yep. All right, let's get, why does it happen?
So number one, you just quit tracking your food.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens so often.
Yeah.
The one advantage that we have is we are continuing in our membership. So we are always tracking our foods. And we did this even before, or I did a lot before we even had our membership. And it was just a way for me to just keep track of what I'm eating.
Right.
And, we didn't have a membership, but we had patients at the clinic. And I was using this to help them as well, because I would show them my app and would keep tracking it.
Yeah.
So what happens is you kind of quit doing what got you there.
Right.
It's kind of like, basketball.
Especially for people who get really great results and maybe even met their goal.
Right.
Unfortunately for people, because we have really good friends who we need to really whip into shape as far as they need to lose back some weight.
Right.
And I mean, they know it, but it's like, and they know, it's like, okay, they did great. They got to their goal. They were feeling awesome. They were, feeling better physically, mentally, sleeping better. Then little by little, oh, I've done so well. We're going to go on this trip and let ourselves just have, some stuff. Then that trip turned into, well, I feel still great.
Right.
Then, 2 weeks later, it didn't hurt me then. And it just is so easy to do. So it happens to a lot of people.
It's kind of like this, if you're a basketball fan, which we've been around basketball for a lot, if a team does really well, they're passing the ball back and forth, and they're getting the open shots because they're passing the ball.
Right.
And they get a big lead. And then what happens is that team, they start thinking, hey, we're ahead by 20 points.
We can back off.
And instead of passing it, their mentality changes and they start shooting it off the first pass. They miss some shots and the other team comes back into the game.
Yeah.
So it's just like that. All aspects of our lives, I think this happens. You just have to be aware of it. And tracking your food is a great way to know exactly what you're doing.
Right.
Number 2, you do not know the difference between a good reason and a bad reason. And what we
to go
to
up
eat
your
some
carbs.
carbs.
Okay, yes. Mm-hmm.
So, some good reasons is you go to someone's house, they cook you dinner.
Yeah.
You want to be polite.
Yeah.
You're not going to be demanding that they have to cook you a certain amount of food or
Right.
certain
And
ways.
you don't want to be like, you don't want to make them feel rude that, I don't eat that.
Right.
It's one thing if you are, of course, allergic to something.
Right.
Like I can't have, whatever, peanuts,
Right.
whatever. But it's another thing, like I said, unless you're just like if it's your mom or
Right.
something, that you can say, Mom, I really
This is
can't
not what
eat
I
that.
do.
Yeah.
Or if there's
Unless you don't go to your mom's all the time.
Right.
But anyway, there's always a reason.
Yeah.
But
or if it's not planned.
right.
Like
yeah.
a birthday party. If you have a Thanksgiving dinner.
Right.
Well, it's October now. If you're listening to this, I'm not sure when you are. But in a month from now, there's going to be Thanksgiving.
Right.
Plan for it.
Right. It's not like you just happen to show
Yeah.
up and you don't know what they're going to have for dinner.
So
there's going to be
So there's some
stuffing
good
mashed potatoes.
reasons why you may increase your carbs. And
Right.
it just may be for a short period of time.
Right.
But you planned it. You've actually put it in your schedule.
Right.
You know what's going to happen.
Yeah. You know that if you're going to go to someone's invited you to dinner, more than likely that you're going to be going.
Right.
So kind of plan beforehand, eat a little something before you go.
We did a podcast on that before, so you can listen to that.
Yeah.
One bad reason is impulse.
Yes. Which is usually the way it happens.
Yeah, it does.
Of course. Way to live life. I mean, we know.
But you have to be aware of that.
Yeah.
You have to be aware that there's some impulses that, you just need to learn to say no.
Right.
Walk away from, change your scenario, change where you're actually physically at.
Right.
And then those things can help you.
Yeah, and a lot of people will say, at work, everybody goes out to dinner, everybody goes out to lunch, or then, and then we've got, again, we live
And that's not a
the same
special
way.
occasion.
No, you're going to work, everybody eats out. Sometimes, again, it's not like you can't say no for the health of your body. It's not like, you have to tell your flesh no sometimes. And that, it's just, like I said, if they never go out to lunch, and it's somebody's birthday and all of a sudden you didn't realize, everybody's pitching in for pizza, everybody's going to go out for whatever. Again, that's one of those things, that you didn't really plan for that. But anyway, you plan.
Right.
So.
And then the last thing is your timing.
Yeah.
Are you just starting and your body's physiology is changing and you don't want to disrupt that versus doing it for 2 years, your body's what we call fat adapted, and we've done another podcast on that as well. And you can do that one time, and that it doesn't affect you.
Right.
So learning the timing of this, whether you're beginning, whether you're advanced doing this, and what kind of health do you have underlying.
Right.
So those are the kind of things you want to think about as far as, why this happens is just it has a lot to do with your mindset, planning, and knowing and telling yourself it's okay to say no.
Right.
It's okay that you can pass on that lunch that you do every day, or if someone brings in snacks and things like that.
Yeah. And like we always like to say, Lord willing, it is not your last meal. It is not your last
We say that
time.
a lot.
This
It's true.
because we have to tell ourselves that. It's not like you're, again, and if, for us, if something were to happen that was our last meal, then, I don't know what to say. I don't know that we'll remember that, but just you have to realize where that can lead you if you, constantly are giving in
Depending
and
on where
adding
you're
the carb creep, adding those carbs in. Okay.
So these are things to watch out for. What happens when you have carb creep? So if you notice these things, if you weigh yourself, obviously, if your weight starts going up, and it could be just a couple pounds a week, you want to watch that.
Right.
The other thing I think is most important, and it's because it's okay not to weigh yourself. You don't have to do that. But how are your clothes fitting?
Right.
If you are noticing that, hey, I've lost weight, my clothes were looser, my belt notch went down, but now I'm back up one, that's when you need to really start paying attention, go back up to the things we talked about before. Start tracking your carbs again. Recommit yourself. So notice your weight and how
your clothes are fitting, how you feel even in your clothes.
Absolutely.
Because all of us know there's going to be days that you feel a little bit bloated by what you ate, maybe, or what you just not feeling well. If you start feeling that more than just like one day, take that as a hint.
Pay attention.
Yes.
The other thing too is most everybody on a ketogenic diet, their cravings and their hunger goes down. So if you notice that you can't fast as long, maybe it's because you're eating too many carbs and your body's starting to switch back to being a sugar burner.
Right, it's one of those quick burning.
Yeah, so look for those things. 1 or 2 days. Sometimes I get hungry at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'm still doing the ketogenic diet, still doing what I'm supposed to do. It's just for whatever reason, maybe the exercise, lack of sleep, something that one day. But if it's a continuing thing where you're continually more hungry than you used to be, look at your carb count. And then the other thing is your mental setbacks. If you're getting discouraged and things like that, mainly because maybe you're not getting results, check it out.
What are you doing? Yes.
Check it out. Maybe there's something that you're doing that you need to get rid of and go back to what you're doing at the beginning.
And women, which we are going to, I know we've talked about this before, a special series on, women, on whether you are, under 40 and you still have your cycle exactly, your regular cycle, still in childbearing, whether you're kind of in that perimenopause between like 40 and the 50s, or if you are menopausal. There are ways that are best for you, for your hormones, for your sleeping, for your anxiety, ways to kind of add in during that cycle week of days like 21 through 28, 30, depending on your cycle, that you don't really want to, you can add in a few of the, like sweet potato, a few of good carbs. We're not saying go out and eat, birthday cake and ice cream all week, but, adding some of those good carbs will make you feel better, help out your hormones, not necessarily with the menopausal, but still, menopausal women, their progesterone, estrogen, a lot of times are not as it should be. So there are ways, and if you are a woman and you're kind of feeling like, listen, I'm doing everything right, I'm not meaning to add bad carbs in, but I'm just not feeling my best, I am not losing like I should, reach out to us, because again, everybody is different in their cycles, and everybody, especially with women, I know we're the ones that seem like, men can just not do one thing and they seem like they lose weight so easily, but women, we do have to deal with our hormones. So reach out to us if you're having a problem. Don't think, well, you're just not doing it right, or don't think, well, keto's not right for me. Reach out to us, because
there's ways.
There's ways.
And what you're doing now and what you do in 2 or 3, 4 or 5 years from now may be different.
Exactly.
Especially as your hormones change.
But don't give up and don't be discouraged.
Right. So, what can you do? What can you do when you have carb quit? One, I think you need to set your boundaries. And you need to set your rules. Not our rules, but your rules. We can help guide you through that. But what I mean by that, when you're setting your rules, is like, I know my rule in my heart, I'm not going to eat bread, I'm not going to have potatoes every day. I just know that. That's just me. Your rules may be different. Your rules may be more stringent, may be a little bit more lax, depending on your health goals. And you have to get to the point where you have to think about what is the outcome that you want, and what boundaries can you go. Because when you set those boundaries, it's just like you and your neighbor. You can go so far in your yard and your boundary ends, and you're not going to go over that. You're not going to build a house on that next property over there, because that's not yours. You've drawn the line. This is as far as I'm going to go.
Things like, for instance, we automatically know when we go out to eat, if there's a place that serves rolls or bread beforehand, we just usually try to tell them, don't even bring it to the table. But if they bring it to the table, we say, oh, thank you so much, but we don't need that.
So that's just a rule. I mean, that's with us. That's what we do.
Yeah. And because he could probably...
I could sit there and look at it and I could probably...
Me, depending on where it is, I can be tempted by it. And especially during which time of the month is it?
Yeah.
And let's just be honest.
Yeah.
So if you go ahead and say, I don't even want to be tempted by it because I'm, during that time of the month and I don't even want it to come to my table just so that I don't. Because as soon as you take off that one pinch,
it goes on.
let's be honest, then you're going to eat the whole roll or you're going to eat half that little tiny, it's a little loaf of bread.
Justification.
Right. Yeah. So just set your boundaries and just already know you will thank yourself afterwards if you just don't even have it brought to the table.
And again, it's not your last meal.
Right.
Number 2, and I want to use this word very loosely, and because I think everybody knows when I say the word cheat.
Right.
It's not cheating. Guys.
Right. We don't really like to use that word.
Yeah, that's not a good word, but everybody knows what I'm talking about when I say that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just your lifestyle.
Right.
But if you're going to eat something, do it with fat. Eat a fat bomb.
Right.
Have those available.
Right.
Things like that you can use that maybe if you do eat a little bit more carbs, it's mostly with fat.
Right.
And you're going to satisfy that cravings.
Right.
So, set your boundaries, quote, cheat with fat, unquote, and then...
Well, I was going to say, that does not mean, because I know how somebody's thinking, because I would maybe think this way. This does not mean that you have real butter with that roll. That is not the fat he's talking about.
No, you don't want to mix those two.
You want real fat, but don't mix it with a carb like that because that is a recipe for...
Disaster.
Because it's going to store that fat. Here's the reason you don't want to. Yes, because it's going to use that... Well, you explain. It's easier for you to explain. It's going to use that quick burning...
Yes, your body is
sugar.
going to go more towards the easily accessible energy.
Yes.
And that is the carbs in the bread.
Right.
So if it uses that carbs from the bread...
It's got to do something with that butter.
That fat doesn't need to be needed.
Right.
So what happens? You store it.
Store it, yeah.
So do not mix those two together.
No.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Good
don't
point.
do that. Yes.
Think about it.
Right.
All right. If you do, quote, cheat, and again, that word's loose closely.
Right. We need to come up with another word.
Yeah.
But
Think
anyway,
about that.
Yeah.
There's 3 things. Do it after a meal. If you sit and you try to do it before a meal and you're trying to skip a meal because you want to eat something that you're not supposed to eat, do it after a meal, get full. So you have that full stomach, so maybe you're not going to eat as much.
Right.
Number 2, along with that same line of thinking, is if you really, really want something, and you're doing well, and you say, this one time, let's say that you eat a whole piece of cake.
Right.
Eat half of it.
Right.
Get that
Say if you
craving.
went to a wedding or a birthday and you're really like, I've not had birthday cake or wedding cake in a long time and I really do want it.
Right. Just eat half of it.
Right.
You're still going to get some of that.
Right.
And when you leave, you're going to feel so much better about yourself because you were able to discipline yourself.
Yeah.
Even though you have that, you're still disciplining
All right,
yourself.
question, because I know people are thinking. Okay, if you know you're going to go to a wedding or a birthday and you say, okay, I really am going to probably have a piece of cake because... so-and-so made it. We never get their cake.
Right.
Not that I'm thinking of Carolyn Mullins and her cake. But you think, okay, I know that I'm going to eat that cake. So, what would be better to eat, and of course, if you're at a birthday or wedding, most of the time that's not ketogenic.
Right.
So, should you, again, thinking about more than likely, let's be honest, I might not eat just half a piece of cake. I might eat the whole piece of the cake. You're not... You know what we need to do? We need to turn this around and say, if it's chocolate chip cookies, because he doesn't like cake. He will eat certain cake from a lady that bakes it.
Yeah.
But anything else, he can say only to have a piece of cake because he doesn't really like cake.
Yeah.
So let's say that you're going to go somewhere that they have homemade, really good, the way you like them, chocolate chip cookies.
Okay. And this
or if I made them for home or something.
And this is point number 3.
Oh, sorry, am I skipping ahead?
No, it's okay. It ties right into that.
Okay.
Your cake, my cookies.
Right.
Eat what you want.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Before then, though, if it said, what should you eat if you know what, I'm probably going to indulge and have more than just half a piece of cake. Or I'm going to have, 4 cookies.
Right. If possible, eat protein.
Well, I was just saying, would it be best to try to not have any carbs or any other...
It'd be better because eat the protein.
Right. And then you're getting kind of your...
You're going to feel full.
Yeah.
And then you can do that. The worst thing you want to do is sit and say, well, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to have some cookies or some cake.
But then you have a full-blown...
Then you have mashed potatoes, bread, and corn, and everything else.
Right.
And then you eat that.
Right.
Because
a lot of that's going to be stored.
Right.
Yeah.
So just try to eat some protein if you can.
Right, okay.
As best as you can.
Right.
Just eat some protein. Make that most of your meal, and then eat that dessert what you want to do.
Okay, yeah.
Because that would be the best thing.
Right.
And by the way,
yes.
when our grandkids were up,
right.
we had cookies, right? That's what
yes.
they wanted, because we told them they could have whatever they wanted.
When they stay all night, we honestly do, because, I mean...
That's what we can do, you know.
Well, I mean, they are very, they don't eat junk all the time,
right.
and we never have it, so
and we wanted to have fun with them, so we let them decide. We made chocolate chip cookies. I made them real.
Oh, and they wanted popcorn.
Because they wanted the chocolate chip cookies.
Right, yes, true.
Did I, or did I not eat all of them?
No, you did not. I am very proud of him, yes.
I was proud of myself, actually.
Yes.
Because that's usually, again, Dave's right, if there's a plate of chocolate chip cookies, I eat a plate of chocolate chip cookies.
That's why we don't make them. Or we don't keep the stuff to make them. But
I did good the other day.
That's true.
So, if you want something, eat what you want.
Right.
Because if you just, because I used to do this, I know this. I used to say, okay, I really want something, but I'll just substitute something else, and it never did satisfy me, and I still wanted what I wanted.
Right, yeah.
Like, for instance, ice cream.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I just want real ice cream.
Right.
And because that's what I want.
And this is not you want some, we don't do this every week.
Oh, no.
Yeah, this is
usually,
it's like vacation,
or if we have it in our house with ice cream.
Like, we have ice cream from leftover from last weekend. Yeah. It's not even tempted me.
And usually we'll end up throwing it away because the freezer burnt or something like that. So
because we don't even, I mean, our grandkids are up all the time, every day, but they don't stay all night.
And we don't allow that every day with them.
And so if they're up just like after school and we're doing something, I don't let them have it. So it would, like you said, probably...
It's a special occasion.
...be thrown in the trash.
Just like we talked about in... What point was that? When we talked about special occasions. Oh, when you're planning it.
Right. You have to plan for it.
Because we plan for them to stay all night.
Yeah.
We plan... When we told them, you can have anything you want. We'll go to the store. We'll get whatever you want.
Yeah.
And they wanted ice cream, popcorn,
we would have had a whole lot more, really, if we would have gotten everything they wanted to bring. We're like, okay, you're only going to be here a few hours. We're not going to eat all that.
But we had a good time.
Yes.
But anyway, so what to do? I'm going to recap them here.
Okay.
3 things.
Yes.
1, set your boundaries, set your rules. All right? Number 2, quote, cheat with fat.
Yes.
As best as you can. And number 3, which has 3 parts, is do it after a meal. Eat half of what you normally would do, and eat what you want.
Right. Yeah.
Okay? And then if you do those things, and you go back up to number 1, which is the very first thing, is tracking your food.
Yes.
You're going to be okay.
Yeah.
All right?
Just get back to tracking and realize how easily those little added carbs every day add up.
Right. And we had a call the other night, and just me and another guy was on the call, on our Zoom call, and we talked about this. And this is really what he needed at that time. So with our membership, if you've not checked it out, or if you don't know about it, we have a membership that we help with. It's a community, and getting in a community is much more powerful than willpower. So being in a community, and the other thing that we offer, especially with people who really want to go a deep dive and get one-on-one with us, we offer some one-on-one coaching, and you can check both of those out in the links below.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, our verse of the day. Can you read it?
Go ahead. Proverbs 20. He wrote it, so.
Proverbs 27:19. As water reflects the face, so one's life reflects the heart.
That's really true.
And this is not for somebody else. This is for you.
For a believer.
This is for us.
Yeah.
This is one way that Proverbs tells us is, what our heart actually is. And, you can look at your life. Look at your life. At your heart, because it tells us what comes out of the heart is what our life is.
Right.
So if you think you're one way, and in your mind you're telling you something, but your actions are different, then you really need to check what's in your heart.
Right.
Because it tells us here what's in our heart comes out in our life.
Right.
Comes out in our speech.
Yeah.
Comes out in our actions. So we're not all perfect. We're not perfect. You're not perfect. We all have sin, we all have issues, and sometimes with our life, we can look at certain aspects of it and say, this is really not what Christ wants us to be like, whether it's our words or our actions or what we're doing or where we're spending our money, where we're spending our time. And if those aren't aligned with what Christ wants us to do, that's our life. We need to look at our heart and say it's a heart issue.
Because as an unbeliever, if you're not saved, you're an unbeliever, unfortunately, the Bible says, not what I say, that you are a sinner and your heart is wicked.
Right.
You know, it says, a lot of people say, just follow your heart. No, don't follow your heart. Your heart is deceitful, right? You want to have a heart of flesh. The Lord gives you a new heart when you become saved. He gives you new desires He changes your heart in order to desire to follow after Him. So when we do things, it reflects what is in us.
Right.
Do we do things for ourselves and we're always selfish? Or do we do things for others? Are we thinking of glorifying God in all that we do? Because what you say, like you said, what we do, how we behave on an overall regular basis, we all sin still. We still have a sinful nature. And that flesh still gets in the way sometimes. But when we do things, it should reflect that Christ has changed our heart.
So the things you used to do,
you don't have a desire to do that.
You don't have a desire, or you're convicted when you do those things.
Right. Yeah.
And that's part of your spiritual growth with getting to know Jesus. Because the more that you know Him, the more you see how much sin is in your life.
Right.
That light reflects upon you as far as like how sinful we really are, and that we continue to need Jesus in our life, directing us each and every day, even after we're saved, so that we can live the life that He wants us to, so we can glorify Him and enjoy Him forever.
Amen.
All right. Great episode. If you have any questions, please reach out to us on anything we've talked about. And remember, be fit and be faithful.